Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I am Chad. We're here with Rob and Donald, and we are here with the Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku and on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. Welcome, everybody. And this is going to be a fun couple of days as the Subway Series has returned for the season. It's the first matchup against these two teams, and it starts in Queens. And it's going to be, I think, one of the harder fought Subway Series that we've had, with both teams expected to make a World Series run. So I think the competitiveness of this series, it's usually a very competitive one, but I think this one has a lot more bragging rights at stake. And it could be more of a World Series preview than we've had in the past. So I'm really interested to see how these two games play out. Who's in, how the pitches all line up. We're going to get into that. Who's the hottest players on the rosters, who to try to shut down. So we're going to really break into all of that. But when you think of the Subway Series, is it more for the fans' bragging rights, or the players just really want to feel like they're the more dominant team? What do you guys think?
I think the fans care about it more than the players. I don't think the players give a damn who wins a 2-game series. If it was October, then it matters, obviously, because then it's the matter of going home or staying alive or winning the whole thing, if in that case. But let's say we split, who's got bragging rights then? It's just one game apiece. It's too small of a sample size. We got two-game series, so I guess we'll have to wait and see how the other 2 games go in the Bronx next month. And then we can say, hey, we got the best of you, or they can say they got the best of us. It's these interstate things are always, it's a rivalry for sure. Don't get me wrong, but it always seems to kind of benefit the fans more in terms of bragging rights, because like Giants and Jets don't care when they play each other. It's the fans that go after it. When name any other sport that has, the interstate teams going at it. It's just more of a fan thing. They want to say, we got one over you. Haha, we got the better team this year. But that doesn't even really mean anything if you win a couple of regular season games. So I just want to beat them. I just want to beat them because I want the team to keep winning. I don't care who we play. I just want to win.
Yeah, Donald, your thought?
I think this series might be beneficial because I think this Yankee team needs a little bit of a shot in the arm. They've underperformed for a little while. Basically since the end of June, largely they've underperformed. So I think this series might hopefully be a shot in the arm for them. It's a little bit of a change from the norm. Play their city rivals, bragging rights, that kind of thing. I do agree with Rob though. I think normally, I think this is more of a fans thing than a players thing, but maybe psychologically this would be a good thing for to say, hey, we run the city, but I think we all know who runs the city anyway. So again, I think it's really about the fans more than the players. But I'm just hoping that this little 2-game jaunt will waken our team up a little bit, because they didn't really get up for the Astros doubleheader, which I thought they would. In fact, they largely punted it, so I'm hoping that this game they might have a little bit more fight in them and wake them up.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more of a fan thing. The players, I don't think, take it not that they don't take the game seriously, but as far as who's the more dominant borough, I don't think they really care. They just want to put wins in the column on the season. That's their goal. Not who's better than who. It's we just want to get that win. We just want to keep rolling. So I think this year it's good. That's why you're going to see a lot more. I'm anticipating a very aggressive and crisp game. I think you're going to see both teams just kind of elevate just a little bit more than what they've had. And like you said, Donald, it should be that catapult for the Yankees to put themselves back on track and kind of right the ship from some of the things that have been going wrong for them. So this might be that little competitive juice that gets everything flowing again, and have the Yankees go off on a tear. They took off the Houston series. Bowen has to be very careful not to take this series off as well, and be very strategic of which pitchers are going out there, what relievers are ready, what the lineup is going to look like. So, yeah, I think you're going to see him manage a lot of what we were expecting to see from him rather than what we saw in Houston.
He's already starting Domingo Germán in the
Well,
second.
I was leading into I'm like, he's not getting off to the best foot. I mean, putting Germán out there, I think, is a mistake.
Against Scherzer, that's a big mistake. Putting up, I mean, we could have changed the rotation up coming out of the break a little bit. We had a double header to think about. So I understand why Germán went in the double header. It's just when you go against Houston, it's just so bad of a decision. But the fact that we're still letting him start really just bothers me. Like we talked about it yesterday. You could have used Schmidt in that role, and I would have rather gone to JP Sears or Schmidt there. You have these guys that have pitched well for you in both roles this year, where Domingo Germán is coming off of an injury, and he's starting now against the Astros and the Mets, 2 first-place teams. And I know the Mets are struggling offensively right now, but it's Domingo Germán. So if there's anyone that's going to light them up, or I'm sorry, if there's anyone that they're going to light up, it'd be him. So I don't get it why we're not letting Sears get these innings or see what we have in him, or let Clark Schmidt see if he can develop into that potential starter of the future. Because, I mean, I know we're in the middle of a pennant race right now, but we got to also think about the future of the rotation. Clark Schmidt could be a piece of it, or he could be a piece of a trade. Do we want to keep him in the bullpen? Because that's going to jobba him, and that's what I wanted to avoid all year. This is the perfect chance to let him start. And they're going with a guy who's already proven he can't be a good starter, who's already proven he can be a better reliever. So if you're going to jobba anybody, do that to Germán.
Germán, yep.
It's a great point. The Yankees have been doing this for as long as I can remember, especially under Brian Cashman. He's really struggles to develop pitching. It's one of his big Achilles heels as a general manager. Right now, you have one of the premier prospects in as a starter, and it's Clark Schmidt. And the Yankees are jawboning him right now. They don't know whether to use him as a starter. They don't know whether to use him as a reliever. He was a really good reliever this year. Sent him down to AAA specifically to stretch him out as a starter. Yeah. And then abandoned that all of a sudden. Call him back up, and he's not even going to be used as a starter. Oh, what the hell is he being stretched out to be a starter for? Why the hell did you send him down in the first place?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's not that he hasn't been able to develop the pitchers. He doesn't know how to utilize.
Exactly that he doesn't know how to develop.
He doesn't know how to utilize the pitchers. The pitchers have the talent. The Yankees are not putting them in the roles that will benefit them. That's the problem. So it's not so much the development of their talent; it's the usage of their talent.
That comes with developing. That all comes in the same bracket. So I'm really frustrated by this. I don't understand what Germán's doing, even starting. I mean, the fact that he started it all against Houston was kind of embarrassing. He hadn't pitched in a year. What were they expecting? And then do it again. What hold does Germán have on this organization?
He's not been good. Like you think about it, he had that 1 year where he won a bunch of games, but he had a bad ERA. He got backed up by a good offense. So we've already seen the proof that he's not a very good starter. But yet last year and a previous year, we used him out of the bullpen. He was okay. He wasn't like lights out. He wasn't like, whoa, this guy's a future closer. But he was good enough that you can get some innings out of him out of the bullpen, long relief. Like, why are we not letting Sears go the first maybe 3 or 4, and then if we have a lead and he's throwing a lot of pitches, then you can go to Germán out of the bullpen. Like, that's a better strategy right now when you don't really have that fifth starter with Sevy hurt. Like you can mix and match, and if you want to start with Sears and then go to Schmidt, if you want to start with Schmidt and go to Sears, but we have 2 starters in Sears and Schmidt that can start for us right now. Instead, we're going with the guy who's already proven that he's not a very good starting pitcher twice in the last week against first place teams. Now, there's a big discrepancy in terms of offense between Houston and the Mets right now. But again, the Mets have a very good team. They can light you up within a blink of an eye if they get going. Pete Alonso, go down the lineup. Francisco Lindor, Guillorme hits the crap out of the ball. They just have guys. Marte, yeah, they have guys up and down the lineup. They just got Vogelbach, who's probably going to hit a couple when they play in the Bronx next month. So like they have guys that can hit. And I know they've been struggling, but Herman's the perfect pitcher to face when you're trying to break out of a slump. So I don't know why he's going out there. Like you said, what stronghold does he have on this team? There's no reason. He's not like this can't-miss prospect that if you let him go, you're losing much. You know, like you have to just keep him in the bullpen and let Clark Schmidt get his opportunity. This is the best shot right now until you get a starter to let Schmidt get some innings as a starting pitcher. Stop screwing with these guys.
Sears should be the guy that starts. Herman shouldn't even be on the team, and we're stuck with him, and that's what's frustrating. But I also want to discuss with the situation with the bullpen, and what do you think is Herman? It'd be easy for him to slide into the bullpen role, like we've been saying. But Marinaccio coming back, like what you guys talked about yesterday, I think is what's going to be the main. That's going to be the most important piece in that bullpen to keep it together. That we've lost King.
I mean, yeah, him coming back is huge, but I think the big X factor is Loaisiga right now. We need him to get back to last year's form because the drop off. I know he was hurt, but now that he's supposedly 100% healthy or back, whatever healthy, he's been bad, and you can't wrap your head around how he went from lights out to this because this is brutal watching him pitch. He's been worse than Chapman when you think about it this year. So
that's bad.
It's really bad. So if anyone's going to turn around and get – because if he pitches remotely close to what he was a year ago, our bullpen is fine, because you have him go the 8th right into Clay Holmes, and you can maneuver in the 7th with different guys like Wandy Peralta or even a Clark Schmidt. And when we get Sevy back, he should be out of the bullpen. And they can still acquire one bullpen arm, and you're good to go. But – he's an X factor. Marinaccio has been very good, but I don't think he's ready for that, like those late game roles, those high leverage situations just yet. They can give him a shot in these next couple of months and see how he does, but right now you really have to get Loaisiga going. He is a key.
Yeah, no, Loaisiga is a big factor. Just as much as any of the other guys in that bullpen. They have to be able to sustain leads. They need to be able to shut down the opposing offense to get our offense, the opportunity to come back in a game, which the Yankees have done very well this year. The Yankees, they always manage to put the other team on notice that they can come back, and they will put up runs late in the game. So our bullpen needs to, be able to stop the bleeding, per se. So the other aspect, the other thing I was looking at this morning was the record of the Yankees and Mets in the Subway Series in the regular season, not counting the World Series, of course, which we nicely took from them and crushed all their dreams. That was fun. But in the regular season, these teams have met 134 times in regular season Subway Series, and the Yankees are 80-59 in those games. They're 80-59 in the Subway Series, a .579 win percentage. So history shows that the Yankees have been able to handle the Mets very well and dominate these games. But this is a different Mets team this year. It's a new owner this year. And I think when you have when the Mets have the roster that they do, the way that they're hitting, their bullpen is not that's their weak. Their Achilles heel is their bullpen, like a lot of other teams. When you have a guy like Scherzer pitching in a game and you're matching against him, and you have all these the rotation that we could have reset, like you said, Rob. After the break, we could have realigned the rotation, so we're pitching our best guys in these games. You have Herman, and that to me is just a joke. It's almost like that's going to be that game that's going to drive us crazy.
I mean, it could also be a game that surprises us for all we know. It's been a weird year, but if we end up hitting Scherzer and Herman shuts them down, then we're in the twilight zone because I don't see that happening. I'm going to be perfectly honest. But no, this is a different Mets team because you got to give them credit. I hate giving the Mets credit, but they've struggled with injuries up and down the roster, key players. When you lose DeGrom and Scherzer early in the season and still find a way to win as many games as they have and stay in first place. They've lost Miguel and all these different guys. So they've gone through it and they've stayed afloat and they've got a small lead in their division, but they've still got a lead. And you got to give them credit. They're a much better coach team this year. I'll tip the cap to Buck. I never said he was a bad manager. I just didn't think it was over the top crazy. But no, they're better. They're better than they were last year, and they were in first place for a while last year. Let's not forget they got a good team and they added to it. And if you wanna use the bragging rights stuff, go ahead and beat these Mets. And let's see. If we need something to get the players pumped up, if inner city bragging rights is what's doing it, then go ahead and do it. But this is a very good Mets team that have fought through a lot of injuries, a lot of them, to some key players. So I give them some credit, and that's where it stops for me. I'm not giving them any more credit.
No, but that's what it is. Both teams, the Yankees and the Mets, they had their runs where they just looked unstoppable. They've had their series where it looked like everything was just going to go, the same old Mets, or the Yankees, lost momentum. The injury bugs, the way the managers are managing the games. Now that both teams actually, it seems like they have a new lease on life with their manager, and these managers are playing to win, not just playing to survive. And I think that's another factor. That's why Boone has to make sure that this is not another Houston series with these two games. He's got to go back to managing like he was before the break, where every game felt like it was a must win. That's how he was managing for a while, and he's got to get back to that, and it's got to start tonight.
Donald?
Thanks, Rob. Taz forgot I was here for a while, I think.
Oh, I didn't either.
No, I don't want to put too much on this series. I really don't. I don't think we need to say, "Oh, Boone has to do this, Boone has to do that." Boone's done plenty at this point. He's been fantastic to this point. We've already discussed that I don't like the matchup that they have on Wednesday. But in general, the Mets and the Yankees, I think, are fairly even at the moment. I think the Yankees have a slight edge. I think the Yankees are a little bit stronger. I think if you look at things such as, from the catcher spot, Trevino's got a 15 DRS, so he's the best catcher in baseball defensively. You've got, we're obviously far ahead of them in power. And then if you look at on-base percentage, we're second in baseball in OBP. They're sixth. So we've got a slight edge in OBP. We're number one in walks. It's really the way we play ball in general is what the reason why we are where we are. We walk a lot. We hit a lot of home runs. And but you've also got the defensive advantage. I don't think the Mets are that great defensively. And we really are. I mean, they're weak at first base. The Polar Bear is not a good first baseman defensively. And, we've got Rizzo, who's absolutely phenomenal, Gold Glover. I think the infield we've got far better defensively. apart from IKF, but he's not even that much of a downgrade. He's just he's just average. And then you've got the outfield. We don't need to say much about the outfield. It's just unbelievable with Aaron Judge. So I feel very strongly that we're better than defensively. And we're far superior to them in terms of power. That's why they had to go and make that deal for Vogelbach. So I think we've got the slight edge. But then what they really have over us is that they've got that incredible starting rotation. And they've got power arms, man. After Garrett Cole, we've got Montgomery and Nasty Nestor and Tyone, and those guys are more, I wouldn't say finesse, but edging towards that. Garrett Cole's our big power arm after him, and now with Severino being hurt, and now not knowing really who's going to be our fifth starter at the moment, it looks like it's going to be Herman. Then it's a big advantage for the Mets. So we'll see how that plays out. That's why we really, really need to go and make a deal for Castillo. For wherever it takes. I think we should be all in on Castillo. We need another starting pitcher.
Definitely. That's why yesterday with the off day would have been a nice day for them to announce the Castillo trade, but it's still too early to unless there might be minor moves. That's not going to be they're not going to be able to get anything significantly done till maybe a day or two before the deadline. Maybe, and also on the day of the deadline is usually when you see that big burst of trades throughout the teams. So, unfortunately, this series is coming before then. But, yeah, we really can use another power arm behind Cole. Not that we've lost complete faith in the rotation without Severino, but it's still – I like the way how you put that as with them being finesse pitchers. Because sometimes it's about movement and being able to hit a spot that is blowing it past somebody. So I think when you have all these players that are so ramped up and they're working on their bat speed to catch up to triple digit pitches, when you have a guy that'll throw low 90s on their fastball, their timing is that it's hard for them to readjust to that. So that can be an advantage if the location on the pitches is proper.
Well, that's why Montgomery and Nestor are so important because that's a solid 3, but it's probably not good enough to get you past a team like Houston in October. You still need that really good power arm because Castillo does both of those things. He locates and he throws hard. So it's a perfect combination. Tyone is he's like in the middle because he can still throw high 90s, but he also can get tagged if he's not locating. So
exactly
that's the thing with him. You really at this point you probably can't rely on him to go in a playoff series. You can hope he figures it out in the next couple of months, but you definitely need another pitcher. And Castillo just makes so much sense because he's under contract again for next year, and we need a legit number 2 because Montgomery's a number 3 at best, and Nestor, he's pitching like a number 2, but we've seen already this year that he can have a couple of starts in a row where he could get hit hard. If he's not locating that cutter, which is 88, 90 miles an hour, he's going to get hit, and he's going to get hit hard. So he's a perfect arm to have as your 4 or 5 guy and be like, if he pitches like this, he's a number 1 or 2, but you also know what could happen if he's not locating. You need that sure thing. Garrett Cole's given me some headaches this year, but he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. And if you get him another really, really good, one of the better pitchers in baseball behind him, you're gearing up for a big run, and we need it. So, yeah, and this series is perfect evidence. The fact, or this post-All-Star break week, the fact that Domingo Germán is starting 2 games for us exemplifies our need for starting pitching.
Yeah. No, and that's why it would have been a great opportunity to see, like, going back to how it all started with us today. That's why, when you have arms like Schmidt and Sears, those are the guys that you want to kind of test, for lack of term, but give them the starting role and have the bullpen ready, just in case. Sears has not shown you anything where it's like he can, where you're going, I don't know if he could hold up to this team. Sears has pitched very well against some pretty formidable lineups. Same thing with Schmidt. But let's bring in a guy that hasn't pitched in a couple of years that nobody even wants to see wearing a uniform. Let's put him out there and tell the fans everything's going to be okay. That's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
It doesn't make sense when you think about it, because we had the 2 games of Houston after the break. So why couldn't they go Montgomery, Tyone or something in a doubleheader? You could have had Herman start against Baltimore, and then you maybe could have had even someone like Sears get a spot start. This way, for this 2-game set, you have Nestor and Cole potentially, because Cole didn't even pitch in the All-Star game. I know he pitched the day before the All-Star game or before the break, but he could have started the first game against Baltimore. What you could have maneuvered the rotation differently to where Herman didn't start against Houston, and then after this we got Kansas City. He could start against Kansas City. You can throw him out there and see what he does, but you're putting him out there against 2 of the best teams in baseball, back-to-back starts, coming back from an injury where he hasn't pitched in a while. So they're really putting this guy. I don't want to defend him in any way because he's an asshole, but you're putting him in a tough spot. You're saying, hey, we know you just came back. Go out and face the Astros and try to get us a win. Go out and face the Mets against Scherzer and try to get us a win. That's asking a lot for a guy who's not very good at what you're asking him to do. So I guess I'll defend him just a tiny little bit. But yeah,
he's carrying a 15 ERA in an tomorrow's game. Like, it's just absolutely unbelievable.
He's bad.
Yeah, you hear 15 ERA, you think he's, but that's all. It's only 1 game. You said, now, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to defend it. It's just not. It's not even worth the breath of air. No, Herman can't pitch. He's got to put him in the bullpen. That's the end of it. We haven't seen a lot from Stanton since the All-Star break. Are we gonna, do you expect now with these 2, with tonight's game going forward, we're gonna see a lot more of the the Judge and Stanton tag team in this lineup for power?
Would assume so. Boone said he should be playing tonight. He was a little tired, dinged up. Apparently, he was having some fun with the supermodel in the All-Star break. So, hey, if you want to take a few days off against Baltimore, go for it, I guess, and have him ready for the Mets. I don't know why people are making a big deal. If Boone says he's okay, I guess we have to trust him right now. So go have your fun, Giancarlo, and be ready for tonight. That's all I got to say.
He's definitely winning. He's definitely hitting home runs on and off the field. I think we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Amen.
No, Big G. Big G.
No, it's just, I kind of brought it up half-heartedly because it's comical of, the way that we all react because somebody's, would you rather him not really play in a series against Baltimore, regardless of how they're playing or that it's a division? I'd rather him healthy in the keep them healthy for the postseason. Give them the extra days when you can.
Well, yeah. So apparently, Aaron Boone discussed it with Stanton that he was wanting to, give him an extended break. I think he noticed that he was wearing down a little bit. I mean, it's concerning, especially with the Yankees' history of not really giving the fans the full answer. But we just have to, as Rob says, we have to trust that Aaron Boone isn't, underselling this, and that he is just genuinely going to be okay. So hopefully he'll be on the lineup for tonight.
Well, one team that does not take off, and that's this podcast right here. So come back tomorrow, wear your pinstripes of pride, and play hard.